narrative. Yeah, I'm dumb American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar has been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest, but I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people, I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm like him to Mike Tyson, I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant, tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. Tuesday, October 17th. Hanging with my guy, Pinky. Cheers, my man.
Cheers, buddy.
How you doing today, my guy?
I would say today is easily in the top 10 of all-time days of all time.
Ooh.
Of all time.
I'm guessing on the bad side is what you're going with?
I don't think a kick in the nuts could bring me down today, my friend.
Dude, that's violent.
So
That's violent.
I am on cloud 9, and I don't even know how to say it, but your boy's going to the Super Bowl, baby.
You won?
You did.
Won? No way, dude.
Yes, sir.
That is sick.
You ever seen a grown man cry in
so happy for
front of people?
Damn, Binky, that's sick, my guy.
Oh, so yeah, man. I have cried. I've laughed.
When did you find out?
Like 2:30.
You've been holding that since 2:30, just waiting to tell me right now?
Oh, and I messaged Aaron earlier. I was like, oh, yeah, don't tell it, Caleb, because it's a surprise. But, yeah, I got Super Bowl tickets.
Brutal, but that is sick. So you're going to take one person with you, right?
I do. I get one guest.
So grandma and grandpa watching the kids, and you and Hannah are going on a little vacay, or what's the deal?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Not
sir.
a boy.
Yeah. For a moment, I'm like, man, I could take my boy Andy. I've got a lot of great football friends and family.
True.
That I could absolutely go and have an amazing time with. But I don't feel like getting divorced right now, as I age, I'm getting better, physically, but I don't think I'm getting better looking. So, I probably should just stick with my life and not play that card, right?
Fair. Yeah, that'll be cool. All expenses paid, right?
Yeah. And hopefully, since work is a sponsor of the NFL, I know a guy who got to go a couple years ago, and he got to go. He went to the Atlanta Super Bowl, and with New England and the Rams, and he got to go to like exclusive parties. He's got pictures with Mahomes. He's got pictures with like Joe Montana. He met all these like really cool guys, right? no idea who they were, and this dude didn't even like football. So, like, to say I was really, really jealous, I was. He was a nice guy, but yeah, he did not care about football one
go.
bit.
My God.
So,
cheers to my dude.
I did ask the ladies. I was like, so does that mean I get to meet Gronk? And they laughed, and they're like, we don't know if he'll be there yet. And I was like, oh, he'll be there.
Oh, he'll be there.
And I got to get a picture with Gronkosaurus. Like, it's gotta happen.
You're gonna need that. We're probably gonna need to get some merch made up, even if it's just one shirt for you to wear while you're out there.
Right.
We'll definitely have to sneak that in somehow, so you can get a little. Maybe we'll make you like a sports nonsense and whiskey polo, so that like you can wear it to the events, and still like have like our little logo here and like little SNW or something, and then all those guys will be like, "What's that? What are you rocking? What's going on there?" Like, well, I mean, I don't want to, but if you want to have a good time and hang out for a little bit, you can always hit us up.
You want to give us 5 minutes of your time and chop it up with us? We're here and ready to talk.
Hey,
and we can talk things that you enjoy outside of football, like whatever.
More than welcome to. We got a whole episode of Star Wars, guys. Come on, join us, hang out. We'll
Actually, my buddy Robert wants to jump on. I think he's going to jump on next week when we watch the Nuggets. So
to talk about the Nuggets.
He just wants to talk. He was excited to come back, and I was like, "You're welcome anytime, man."
Well, I haven't caught up on all the Star Wars yet, though. Oh no.
Well, I haven't caught up on Ahsoka, but I did finally finish Mandalorian season 3.
Okay.
So I did finish that up.
Not going to do you, and I've explained this to you, and I know you're not a big fan, so you probably won't do it. But Ahsoka's not going to mean as much to you if you don't go watch Rebels, the animated series Rebels, because it's basically a continuation of Rebels, and really. And I could be wrong, okay, but from everything I'm reading, and I haven't started Ahsoka yet. My wife and I are trying to find time so we can just burn through it. But from everything I've seen and read, this sounds like it's Dave Filoni's way of completely resetting the timeline and basically wiping those 3 new movies clean. Or it's at least an avenue to do that if they choose to. We'll see. But I'm very excited about that, and I'm very excited to talk to him about it. So I need to, if he's coming on, I got to figure something out. I gotta figure something out. But here's the problem, Pinky. Here's the problem. We're gonna have to find time because next week we have to do our basketball preview. Absolutely. That has to happen next week. Well, obviously we're gonna have NFL and college football talk again because that's just what it is this time of year. And who knows what else comes up. We got baseball going on that we need to at least mention because we do, care enough to at least, give it 30 seconds. So next week could be busy if this is going down, but I need to know like ASAP because I might have some episodes to crunch through real fast.
Yeah, that you might have to run through it. We'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, Robert's still a decent nerd and sports guy. More on the soccer side of things, but he definitely had some comments about USA playing Germany.
Yeah, yeah, we could talk about that too. I do enjoy a little soccer discussion with him. That's always good. So,
I mean, I like sitting back and just drinking my whiskey and shutting up. So, whatever.
I'm good. Whatever we got to do, my guy. Whatever we got to do.
Well, that was my news of the day. I'm only sad that it's 4 months away. But yeah, checking that off the bucket list, all expenses paid. I told Junior, I was like, I think Mom would divorce me if I didn't take her. So
yeah,
you'll get the next one. And he was like, the next one I'll pay for, Dad. We'll go. And I was like, all right. Maybe not, so a couple years from now, I'm sure,
Sure.
The Browns ever make it, whatever,
Not bad. That's a good deal. That's a good deal you got there.
So let's talk about baseball. I've been thinking baseball.
Okay.
Because, and I may have jinxed 2 of the teams. So we're heading to Phoenix next week. We're gonna go, Andy and I, and our ladies are heading to Phoenix, and we're going to go check out the Cardinals play the Ravens.
Okay.
And
wait, you're going down there to watch the Cardinals play the Ravens?
Yeah.
So is this like?
Did I not tell you this?
Is this your Cardinals stadium trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got the stadium tour tickets.
Cool.
We're got to get tickets to the game, and the guy that we're staying with is Hannah's managing broker, real cool guy. He's got an Airbnb down there.
Yeah.
Where he's renting out his home here in Colorado, and that rental payment is paying for the mortgage on the house in Colorado and the one in Phoenix. So he's like, he's living in Phoenix for the next year because of that. So I was like, cool. He was like, yeah, you guys can come down, you can stay. There's multiple rooms and beds, so the four of us fit like no problem.
Yeah.
So he was cool, and I was like, man, that would be super cool. The World Series could technically be down here while we're there.
Could be.
Because of and he's a big Astros fan.
Ooh.
And so my mind was going like, if the Astros are playing the Diamondbacks in the World Series and we're there, I think we're going to a World Series game. Like, I feel like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sure enough, Astros are down 2-0. Diamondbacks have already lost one, and they're losing tonight.
Yeah.
I may have jinxed it altogether.
You might have spoken a little too soon. Sometimes you can speak things into existence, but there's certain things that you don't speak of at all, and you might have performed the latter.
I'm not shocked on the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies took care of the Braves pretty easily. Now, again, I still don't like that best of 5. Like, to me, I still think that's bullshit. Like, it's best of 7. In a best of 7, do the Phillies still come out on top? Probably, right? So,
I mean, that's the thing about baseball is the best team does not always win because the best team's bats may not always be hot at that moment.
I mean, I think it's very easy to say, like, the teams that sat didn't play well. The Dodgers, the Braves, the Twins.
It's been a complaint for many a year.
The Astros were the only team that actually played well. They played well against the Astros. The Astros, and who was the other team
Twins?
in the?
Didn't they play the Twins?
Well, who was the team that had the byes though? Because the Twins played in the first round,
right?
And the Rangers played in the first round.
League was Astros and Baltimore.
Baltimore got the bye. They played. They lost all 3 games. Like,
yeah, they didn't play well either.
Yeah, so every team that
had
the bye sucked.
is a bad deal. It just is. And so what they should do is they should go to where team 1, the top team plays in the first round and doesn't sit for that week to 10 days, maybe, depending on how things go. They should actually play in the first round, but they should play against the lowest seed, like basketball does.
Right. Basketball and hockey does the same thing.
Yeah, and not get that rest time like that. And you get your rest time by smoking that team and getting a couple days off in between rounds, not an entire week off while a round's going on. So that's the argument. It would mean they have to add a couple more teams again, and baseball is very much against that because it completely negates the entire regular season, which the whole point of that is to kind of battle for those spots in the first place. It is one of the true regular seasons that really matters. I know you say it's too long, and I get that. I can hear both sides of that argument, but you can't deny that the regular season in baseball does mean a lot. They play all those games for a reason, to really give you a chance to decide who should be in the playoffs.
Over the long run, you've definitely got to, win more series, and you've got to definitely win enough games to get there. In baseball, it is tougher, absolutely.
Right. So you either add and go to 8 teams, or you go back down to 4. I doubt they go back down to 4, so then you probably go to 8. But they could go back down to 4 with the idea that you have a couple of those play-in games just like one game. You know what I mean? One quick day after the season, you play a couple playing game kind of things, or the first 2 days after the season, get all the true playoff teams, those top 4 teams, a rest for 2 days, and let a couple teams play some play-in game kind of things where it's just a one game winner takes all kind of thing, and then they get into the series. You could do something like that as well, but it would be interesting to see what they decide to do, because it is starting to be a big topic of conversation.
So I will say, if it ends up Rangers Phillies, I love it. 2 teams that really haven't won a World Series in a while. Phillies, it's been a while since they've won a World Series, and I think the Rangers, have they won a World Series? I mean, was Nolan Ryan there last time they won a World Series?
Nolan Ryan never won a World Series. Isn't that crazy?
Get the fuck out of here. Is that real?
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan never won a World Series?
Never won a World Series. You fact checking me on that?
I thought he got one.
The Rangers have never won a World Series.
Nolan Ryan.
And
Nolan Ryan has a World Series. 1969.
Really?
It's the only he only pitched one game. He pitched 2 1/3 shutout innings against the Orioles. The Game 3 victory gave the Mets a 2-1 lead in the series, which they went on to win in 5 games. It was his only World Series appearance in his career.
Well, wait, did you say which the Mets went on to win in 5?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. But
so he has one.
An appearance. He didn't really win anything.
Well, I mean, he's on the team.
Ride, right?
He's a World Series champion in 1969.
Okay. My bad.
So.
Oh, you know what it is? That's my fault.
I thought for sure.
He has no Cy Young. Nolan Ryan does not have a Cy Young award.
That is correct. That's
what I was thinking of. My bad.
It
is still crazy to think that he doesn't have a Cy Young, and he was only in one World Series in 69, like way back in like one of his first couple of years.
Right.
Also, think about that. Nolan Ryan spanned like the end of the old generation of baseball, like that late 60s, all the way up until like the mid to late 80s. Think about
93 was his last season.
I know. So he saw all that new stuff come in with the Bonds and the McGuires and all those guys coming up, and then retired. Then that next season was the strike season, and then baseball kind of took off in a new direction after that. So Nolan Ryan was kind of like really the last of the old guard when you think about it that way.
Right. So that's crazy. So Texas Rangers winning a World Series, why not? Why not, right?
Okay.
So I'm all for it. And again, most people don't like the Astros, so you know.
Yeah, I find myself kind of sort of rooting for Philly. Only because I like the energy of the team, and I'd kind of like Bryce Harper to get another World Series to kind of really not have any doubts about whether or not he's a Hall of Famer. Because I know I was kind of on the fence, and then Zach told us, a year or so ago that he definitely is, and he kind of ran off why, and I had to agree. But I feel like another World Series under his belt and him being part of the reason why would be like just a solidification of him being that tier. You know what I mean? So
for sure,
that's kind of. And then I like Trey Turner, the way he went off in the World Baseball Classic for Team USA, and kind of had a rough year, but came on towards the end, having a decent playoff. I like him too. I mean, he's the dude with those smooth slides, Pinky. When he comes into home and he slides like 15 feet and then just kind of stands up and walks away out of nowhere,
I mean, He's already hit a homer tonight.
Yeah.
And Schwarmer's got 2.
Yep.
And they're up 3-0. So
yeah, so I like Philly. We'll see what happens. Still a lot of games to be
I feel like if you're not a fan of, like, if your team's not in it and you don't have a hatred of those two teams, I feel like that's a win-win for us. Like, if Texas wins, it's a win.
Sure.
Philly wins, it's a win. Like, it's not like it doesn't hurt us any.
Yeah, don't hate any of that. Don't hate any of that at all. So
I'm okay with it.
We'll see how the next week unfolds up to Tuesday. I think by Tuesday there's a good chance. Tuesday next week, there's a good chance we have our World Series set.
Clayton's in the house.
Clayton. So yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday. What the World Series looks like. We'll talk basketball, football, all that good stuff next week. So I do have one basketball story I want to talk about this week before we dive into football, my guy.
Okay.
So I don't know if you heard this, and I want to speak on this specifically and then in general terms as a whole that you can talk about for all sports, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. But did you see Calvin Booth's quote?
I sure did.
Okay, so for the people that haven't, I got basically a kind of a shortened version of it, but it encapsulates everything you need to know about what we're going to discuss here. Calvin Booth was quoted as saying, after being asked about the Bones Highland trade last year with the Nuggets, how do you feel about the trade, that kind of thing, what brought it on, the kind of questions. This is his response. I knew you couldn't have 2 guys that couldn't guard. And we couldn't have 2 guys that were young and kind of more me guys, Booth said. Mike makes $30 million. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA. So, Bones, there's no place for you. I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to give you a bit of a thought, and then I'll let you respond, and then I'll come back, all right?
Okay.
How do you feel about your GM, or any GM for that matter, speaking about a player in that that light? For both Bones and Michael Porter Jr. And then the thought is he gave Michael Porter Jr. like a double backhanded compliment. So on that note as well, what do you think about that? How should Porter be feeling? Kind of give me your overall thoughts on the situation here in general, specifically, and then I'll kind of tell you where I come from.
So, first of all, I appreciate the candor.
Okay.
From any GM, coach, when they give an honest answer, like, that's what we really want. And I think that then turns it into conversation topics for the media of either one way or the other, right? Which is why we're talking about it.
Sure.
Now, I'm sure he probably went and talked. And again, we don't know how the interview went down. Was this a snippet of it? Was it like a larger portion? Like, we don't know. But they do it in the media all the time. They can kind of take things out of context.
I went and looked at it. That's pretty much they're not twisting his words.
I really don't have an issue with the comment, except for I would have liked, and I don't think, and Michael Porter would have the right to say this. So I think Michael Porter throughout the season did change his game. And he put more effort onto the defense. He put more effort into rebounding in the playoffs. Like, he really did put in more effort. So I felt like everything he said really up to the Bones trade was probably absolutely a fact up into that trade. And Michael Porter Jr.'s like continued to play within the offense, understand his role on the team, and then be like, you know what? When I'm not shooting, how can I impact the team? I can rebound. I can play better defense. I can put more effort out. And he absolutely did that. And he was absolutely a key component in winning the title. Now, Calvin Booth, again, his comments aren't wrong at the point of that trade. And he already had a guy making a lot of money Bones needed to be on the court scoring points to try to make his money. Like we didn't have time for that. And Bones definitely did not play within the offense. Like he just didn't. Does he have some really great ability? Absolutely. But we didn't need that. We needed somebody to play within the team. So again, I'm sure Michael Porter probably didn't feel great about it when he heard it. I'm sure him and Calvin Booth have had a discussion. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about the timing of when that all happened, Calvin Booth's not wrong. You just don't really hear that kind of candor from a GM.
True. So I agree with you on the candor. I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate you giving a thoughtful response to a question that you were asked. I like the insight. I also agree with you. There is some truth to the statement. Now, while I say some truth, the reason I say some is something you've already elaborated on. That wasn't necessarily true anymore. And one of the reasons there's two reasons I hate this response from him. It shows his true feelings on Michael Porter Jr. And to me, it says, you're not one of my guys, and I would easily dump you if you didn't have a $30 million cap hit. And there's not a cap in the NBA, so I know that. It's just kind of the thought. Like, you cost $30 million. You got to do a lot for me to be able to trade that contract to somebody. So it's easier to trade Bones for pennies on the dollar kind of thing.
Right.
You are one of the best shooters in the game, but I only mentioned shooting because I don't think you do anything else. Like, I think there's some between the lines stuff here that needs to be read into. And to me, that's disturbing on two levels. One, if that's how he truly feels about Michael Porter Jr., Calvin Booth has not paid attention to the full story, even a little bit. Because Michael Porter Jr. has basically only played one season in the last 5 years of his life. And that's this past season in the NBA, which means he basically hasn't played a full season of basketball since his senior year of high school. So my guy has had all that time where he's had to learn the game at the highest level without being able to be on the court to practice the skill. And I think people are forgetting that about his career arc so far. I believe it was game 4 against the Lakers, Pinky, was what I said was his coming out party. And when we finally saw the light bulb turn on and him realize, I can do so much more than just shoot the ball. Because he went I think it was 2 for 11 from the field, and it was 1 for 8 from the 3-point line or something like that. He had a total of 6 points, but he had 13 rebounds, 7 offensive. He had a couple of assists. He had a couple of key blocks down the stretch. He did a lot outside of just shooting the ball when his shot was not working for him that night. That said to me, things have finally changed. So what Calvin Booth should have been able to see and recognize is that maybe he's a me guy in the sense that he likes to shoot the ball. He likes to score. Maybe he doesn't really play a whole lot of defense. But you got to remember, the last time he played ball was his senior year of high school, where he was probably far and away better than every single person on the court. His defense was simply letting somebody kind of drive to the hoop and then him just blocking them. And he could just shoot and dunk on everybody, right? So you have to be able to think about these things and think about the full picture before you come out and say, he's a me guy who only shoots the ball and we're paying him $30 million a year to do that. No, there's a growing curve here. And even Michael Malone, who has been critical of him, don't get me wrong, he's basically kind of said he's a me guy and doesn't play defense for the last 3 years. However, even Michael Malone said during that playoff run and after the finals victory that he watched Michael Porter Jr. take that next step. So if your head coach is saying that in the public eye, what are you doing coming out talking about? And I get it. It was at the time of the trade. I get that. But you should have been able to start to see the maturation process at that point too and understand there's more than just you're a good shooter and we're paying you $30 million a year. of why we're keeping you.
Well, and that's where Calvin just that's where he messes up. He needed to add something about him in the second half and the playoffs becoming a better all-around player. And he didn't. That's where he kind of messed up. If he brings that in, we're probably not having this conversation.
There's a good chance of that. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's, again, why it's a little scary to me that he said this, because it almost gives you his true thoughts. And let's be honest. And I've had some people push back on this because I've kind of said this over in social media. And to me, personally, this championship was won with Conley's guys and a couple of and don't get me wrong, they're key additions, but a couple of Booth additions that allowed us to win the championship. To me, Booth has way more to prove still as a GM than Michael Porter Jr. does as our small forward, power forward, starting alongside Murray and Jokic.
So Booth
yes,
Booth gets credit.
Yes, you brought in
KCP, Bruce Brown.
Yes, you brought in Bruce Brown and
drafted
Brown. However, the core, MPJ, Murray, Jokic, that's Conley. Jeff Green, that's Conley.
Aaron Gordon was Conley.
That's where I was going next. So, if we're going to talk about who had a bigger impact as the GM and put the team together, it's Conley. I don't care what anybody says. Was KCP and Bruce Brown and Christian Brown big additions? Absolutely. Would have we won without them? I don't know. It depends on who Conley would have picked up to bring in. Maybe he would have brought in one of those three guys as well, you know? Who knows? But they were great signings by Booth, don't get me wrong. But he's got to still show that he didn't whiff this offseason by not getting maybe one of the key or free agent veterans, by only using those draft picks, by not trading up and taking a more high ceiling potential in the draft possibly. Now, I said Struthers was a great draft pick. He's looking really good this preseason.
He is looking.
He's looking really good. So that would be nice. But does that replace what you've lost with a Bruce Brown? Nah.
Well,
Christian Brown.
hold on.
Christian Brown take the next step and fill some of those minutes.
But
there's some big question marks with this Nuggets team.
Well, I think he answered that in the rest of that interview, because he talks more about. So it's not about going back to back. It's about winning like 3 or 4 of the next 8.
You're right. And he's talking about a dynasty and winning 3 out of 6, 4 out of 8, 5 out of 7.
Right.
That's what he's talking about. And I can appreciate that thought process very much so. I'm all about building like that. But you can't – there has to be a good mix of potential and already. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just bet your future on some draft picks and not fill those veteran spots that you lost. That's 9 times out of 10, that's a recipe for disaster because you don't hit on those draft picks. So if you're going to play that game, you absolutely have to hit on those draft picks in order for that to be a viable option. And that's where I'm saying he's very much, in my eyes, he's on the hot seat. And not in the sense that he could lose his job, hot seat, by no means. But on the hot seat in the sense that you've now played your cards. You've shown the strategy that you're trying to go with. And this strategy will play out very quickly on whether or not it's right. And so let's see how it goes before. So, that's what I feel like he should be more speaking on, rather than talking about MPJ and what he is and why he's still there. Because his comments again came off as good for the way he feels about MPJ.
And the benefit the Nuggets have is they're one of the teams that hasn't mortgaged any of their future for where they're at now.
Right, and their contract situation is beautiful.
Bucks, like everything they've done right now is pretty solid. That
contract situation is also because of what Conley did, not what Booth did. So again, other things you have to think about. The reason they're in the position they are and set up well for the future is because of how Conley handled the present when he was here. So the idea that people are giving Booth this kind of credit and stuff, and they're happy Conley's gone, and it's kind of crazy to me.
Well,
and I actually hate the comments about MPJ, but from what I've seen and heard, a majority of Nuggets fans like it because they're way over too critical of MPJ and did not see what I was witnessing with that keen eye. Maybe that's just me.
Well, again, you've got casual fans, which you're always going to have more of when you're winning. And then you have real basketball fans too, right? And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand, like, MPJ got better as an all-around player. And what's funny is he was not a good shooter in the playoffs at all.
No, he lost
atrocious.
his shot. Yeah, it was wild. And he is one of the best shooters in the NBA. He just is. That's a simple fact. He's probably one of the top 10 shooters in the NBA.
Right. His stroke is awesome. For whatever reason, he couldn't buy a bucket.
Couldn't.
And when he finally just started like, okay, I'm going to move around, I'm going to rebound, I'm going to get near the basket, and he kept making points that way, and it was like, okay, like we can live with that, right?
Yep.
Philly's up 5-0 now, by the way.
Yep.
So not looking good. So again, I still feel like Calvin Booth went to Michael Porter probably afterwards. They probably had a conversation. I think they're still cool. It's not a great look. Absolutely. You're correct there. I know we don't agree on everything, but we can agree on that. It's not a great look. I still feel like, again, everything he said was valid about the timing of it, but I would have liked to have seen him come out and just be like, but Michael Porter has become such a better all-around player since the trade happened. And I think that just, like, he says that and we're not talking.
Acknowledge something like we saw the willingness in Michael Porter Jr. to grow and learn and evolve his game and be part of the team, where we didn't see that from Bones. Like, say something like that and I'd have been like, I get what you're trying to say. I understand where you're coming from. But right now, honestly, and I feel like I'm on an island of one, which, surprise, surprise, right? But I feel like he really kind of showed his true colors, and he would not hesitate to move MPJ. And it made me also believe he would move MPJ for less than his actual value if he got a deal for like a couple bench veterans that he feels like could be role players to help still win. Like, I think that's kind of how he feels about MPJ, which worries me. I don't think Mike Malone feels that way about MPJ anymore. I think he might have at one point. I don't think he does anymore. But so, I think Calvin Booth does.
I don't see that for this season, but could that be something in the future? Sure. I just don't. I don't see them changing up the chemistry and messing with the locker room right now. I just don't see that happening.
But see, this is why, and you said it. This is exactly why I do, because of the rest of his quote. I'm not trying to win back to back. I'm trying to be recognized as a dynasty long term. And so if he feels like MPJ long term, whether it's because of his injury history or, you know, he's not evolved to that next step the way Booth thinks he needed to, and he trades him, it's going to be because he feels like it helps that dynasty aspect rather than this year or the next year immediate. And that's honestly, Pinky, to me, that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought because that's a GM who's willing to tinker with a core that very much has a huge window here that should stay together.
I wouldn't like – I definitely wouldn't like that move at all. I mean, like, he's not – like, for me, like, it's Joker and then Aaron Gordon's my dude. Like, that's my guy. I know.
I love Aaron Gordon.
I like the guys that play dirty in the paint, and then, like, man, like his dunking in the preseason game last night against the Bulls, bro, or was it Monday night? Man,
yesterday, yeah.
He got 2 from Joker, and I was just like, oh, these guys are literally on the same page.
For sure.
He got one from Joker and then does a behind the back. And I was just like, that's just not fair, man. That's just not fair.
He pulled that out in the playoffs last year.
So
it's here's what scares me is it's very rare in the NBA that you get a core like the Nuggets have, of 4 dudes. 4 dudes. Now, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, kind of fringe all-star talents, right? Jokic, Jamal Murray, they're arguably first-team NBA. So when you have that kind of core talent in 4 dudes, your starting 5 is set. Think about the teams over the years that have had that. So you could say the Bulls on both of theirs had kind of a core of 4 dudes. You always had Michael and Scotty. The first run,
Horace Grant.
Yep, exactly. Horace Grant, and you could say B.J. Armstrong, kind of as that point guard who was there to kind of help move the ball around and stuff with that triangle offense. In the second one, in that second three-peat, it was not Steve Kerr. It was Ron Harper and Dennis Rodman. And their talent wasn't as much offensively, but it was just so crazy lockdown defense.
Don't forget Tony Kukoc either.
And that's what I was gonna say. Those two were so crazy lockdown defense. You had Tony Kukoc then, who just played a pivotal role on that offensive side of the ball for them. You look at the Golden State teams, Curry, Clay, Draymond, and then you kind of have Iggy as that 4th guy, Andre Iguodala through those run. You look at the Lakers, where you had Shaq and Kobe, and then you had a Rick Fox, you had a Robert Horry, you had a Derek Fisher, with Kobe again with Paul Gasol, and then you had Lamar Odom. So when you start thinking about when you have that kind of core, you go back to the Bad Boy Pistons, Dumars, Rodman, Isaiah Thomas. You can look at some of the bad boys there as well. Mahone and some of those guys. You go back to the Celtics, the Lakers of the 80s and the 70s. When you start being able to say you've got that kind of 4th guy that can be really talented, those usually lead to a dynastic bit of a run.
Right.
In maybe small terms, maybe large terms of that dynasty word. But that's usually what happens. So don't break up that core, man. Don't even talk like you could put it out there that something could be moving. So that's what concerns me. So hopefully it's nothing. Hopefully MPJ doesn't think twice about it because Malone and the guys actually have his back, and he can care less what Booth thinks because he knows he's there. His contract's in a very sweet position, along with Murray, along with Jokic, along with Gordon. So the fact that those 4 are locked up the way they are makes it feel safe. But, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a fun season. That's all the basketball I got until next week.
Next Tuesday, baby. Next Tuesday.
And then I'll go off. You know me. Next Tuesday I'll go off on the rundown.
All right. So, let's see. Hockey started up. Connor Bedard is going to be a dude, man. Going to be a dude. I like it when the hype is there and it lives up. I think he's going to live up to it.
For sure.
Probably going to still take a couple years till they're like really competitive, but I'm really liking what they do. God, Oilers are up 6-1 tonight. I tell you, man, are the Oilers ever going to make that run? McDavid, Draisaitl, and they got the Rise Nugents. Can't know if I said that. He scored 40 goals last year too. All 3 of those dudes on the same team is not fair.
Pretty crazy.
Yet they can't make it out of the second round. 6-0 Phillies, by the way.
Yeah, it's going up quickly.
Update. Avs play tonight. They should be dropping the puck here soon. And we'll see. I don't know if you watched their game the other night. They played the Sharks, who they should have beat pretty handedly. They could not get a puck in the net, man. They hit the post like 2 or 3 times. Goalie had some pretty good saves. If it weren't for they pulled the goalie with like 3 minutes left, and then Cale Makar happened to be at the top of the ice, 2 defenders in front of the goalie. He was able to just smash one. The goalie didn't know where it was, and it went, right under his legs. Like, if it weren't for that, they probably would have lost that game. But it's just crazy watching that. Like, they could not buy a goal against that goalie. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's tough. So, long season, though. Long season.
There's Cody helping me out. Clayton, you're talking about the Bucks and Lillard?
We'll get there, Clayton. Next week, buddy. Next week we'll discuss. Don't worry.
We'll go heavy next week on that. We'll see. I
got plenty to talk about when it comes to the NBA before the season kicks off.
I'll see if my boy Greg's available too. We'll see if he's available. He got to go to that. He got to go to that Nuggets game the other night, which was cool. All right. So the topic of the show, the NFL. It just shows me every year, no matter how smart I think I am, we still know nothing. And I feel like it's not just me. Vegas lost a lot of money this weekend.
Well, hang on. Are you just glossing over? We're not even going to talk about college. Before you get to the NFL, I know, look, I want to get there too, but there were a couple big things that happened here this weekend in college football, and I think there were some mentions.
You just stole my thunder, man.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, Pinky. I apologize. I thought you were really going to talk about college football with the game that happened this weekend, at least the one game. I thought you gave some conversation to.
Which one game are we talking about?
Oregon, Washington?
That was a good game. A good game.
Dude, not just a good game. It's, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. We're talking about 7 and 8, 2 top 10 teams. Arguably 2 teams that could easily be in the college football playoffs talent-wise. The game went down to the end. It was absolutely amazing. Both quarterbacks played outstanding. There's a good chance Michael Penix with that game put himself in the lead for the Heisman race right now. Granted, we're halfway through the season, so there's a lot of football left to play still. But the way him and Washington are playing right now is ridiculous. And that boy, woo! Is there anything better than a smooth lefty? Is there anything better than a smooth lefty?
It looks weird, but it works, man.
Oh, it looks so sweet. It looks so sweet.
It does not look sweet. It looks a little weird, but it works.
No, you're crazy.
So.
That looks so sweet. Oh, my God. I love the way a smooth lefty works. Oh, it was an outstanding game. Back and forth the whole game. Oregon had a chance at the end to try and run off some clock and put Washington in a bad spot. Instead of doing that, they tried to go for the throat is kind of how I saw it. And a lot of people were giving the head coach a hard time about not running the clock down and trying to throw the ball and get the first downs. I like the aggressive play. Maybe the play calls weren't exactly what I would have gone with. As far as if you're going to throw the ball, I might have gone with a different option of route trees. Especially because I would think they're going to bring some pressure, and I would have wanted to make sure that ball gets out of my quarterback's hand a little quicker. But I still like the thought. Then they punt the ball back. Michael Penix comes back within 2 plays. 2 plays. There's like a minute. It was like a minute 40 left on the clock when they got the ball back. 2 plays. It was like a 35, 40-yard pass down the left sideline. And then he threw a touchdown with the very next play that was about 15, 20 yards. 2 plays after they got the ball back, went down and scored a touchdown. And Oregon just couldn't come back from that. Fabulous game. A game that didn't turn out to be good, that was very largely hyped. Notre Dame just absolutely put the smack down on USC. And USC looked like they were exposed.
I had a feeling that was coming. I feel like that was coming.
I did too. We kind of called that. And that was not good. USC is out of the running for the national championship. Caleb Williams, I believe now is out of the running for a repeat Heisman. And I'll tell you why here. I'll tell you why here in a second. So they got spanked. It was just absolutely Ugly. Florida State took care of business. I'm trying to think of what else I was thinking of. There's some other, it's Ohio State is playing well, but not great. Michigan is playing really well. They're probably the most complete team in college football, but they're not doing anything to just blow people's minds or open their eyes to anything crazy. Alabama looks like they still might be able to win the West and put their name in the college football playoff with that one loss to Texas at the beginning of the season. Texas, Oklahoma, that's what I was going to say. It was a crazy game.
That was a good game.
Absolutely great game. Similar to Oregon and Washington, where it went down to the end, and Texas just couldn't get it done. Oklahoma got the ball back. Dylan Gabriel, couple throws, over. Oklahoma win. Just incredible football this weekend that we got to see at the college ranks.
So I will say, when you see games like Texas, Oklahoma, Washington, Oregon, that's what you want to see. When those games are hyped up and you're excited, and then you see a good football game, regardless of the outcome, that's what you want as a football fan. And I enjoyed both of those games. I did watch both of those games.
Good. So they were great. Now, this is why I say Caleb is probably out of a repeat Heisman. They're going to have at least one more loss. Minimum.
I'd be shocked if there's not two more on there.
Okay, I'm just saying. They're going to have at least one more, which means he's not in the Pac-12 championship, which means he's not playing for the college football playoffs. Michael Penix will be. Bo Nix will be up there. Drake May will not win the Heisman, but he'll probably be invited. Caleb Williams might be invited. We might get 6 guys invited. A name to pay attention to that I told you at the beginning of the season to watch out for, who is just playing phenomenal football right now, probably the best in college football, honestly, but his team's got a couple losses, bad losses, is LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels. Pull up his stats right now, Pinky, because I kind of want to blow your mind a little bit. I think you're going to just be a little blown away at what this guy is doing right now. And it's not being talked about, which is what's crazy to me, because it's LSU. 2 losses isn't awful. It's not like they're 0 for 5 when they're supposed to be great. Now, they are underachieving drastically, but it's LSU, and this guy is balling out.
He's got 2,200 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
What's his rushing?
It's not showing me that on what I'm looking for. He's got 515 yards rushing.
There you go. And how many touchdowns?
4.
So at the halfway point, this guy right now has a total of 2,800 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That is impressive numbers. Now, LSU is probably not going to get to the SEC championship game. They're not going to be in the playoff hunt. Jaden Daniels is probably not going to win the Heisman. But I'm just telling you another reason why I don't see Caleb Williams repeating either. So you have to start looking at Michael Penix. You got to start looking at Bo Nix a little harder. Both their numbers are crazy good. You're going to have to start looking at Jordan Travis a little harder. I'm not impressed with him like I am the other guys, but he's putting up good numbers, and Florida State is undefeated in number 3 in the country right now. So it's got to be paid attention to. There's going to be some other names that pop up as the year goes on. I still expect Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name to be mentioned at the end, but right now his odds are not good to be invited.
No, he's not putting up those kind of numbers.
Right, not right now. But again, there's still a second half of the season, and he could easily go off really quick.
His quarterback sucks, though, man. He's not gonna get that.
Not a great quarterback situation. You're right. I'm just saying it's a name that I expect to see up there by the end of the season. Hartman from Notre Dame will probably be invited as well because he's doing pretty well. Notre Dame will be up there. So some names to think about, but pretty solid play right now in college football ranks as a whole from a lot of different teams. And this second half of the season is going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on.
So I will say what's going against Caleb Williams is his numbers are still really good. But if they're really good on a losing team, you have to put up like fucking Star Wars numbers.
Yeah, they've got to be great. Like, it's why Shedeur Sanders isn't even mentioned anymore in the Heisman odds as far as one of the
right. And his numbers are still up there, but when you're losing, like you're not going to be accounted for.
Absolutely.
So you have to have one of the two. You're either winning with really good numbers, or you're like just putting like crazy numbers up there that people can't touch, but you're not on a great football team, right?
Yeah,
so that's
but
why you've got losses.
You still got to be only like 1 or 2 losses for that to even work. You know what I mean? So otherwise, guys like Patrick Mahomes back in the day at Texas Tech, they were putting up them Star Wars numbers, would have been mentioned up there in New York.
Right.
They would never win.
Or like most of the quarterbacks that played for Hawaii that put up like
that was my next. But Colt Brennan is a name that a lot of people will know well that like college football. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Those June Jones offenses down there in Hawaii were insane. So a lot of things to think about here. Going to be a fun second half of the season. I don't think Georgia's going to repeat. I think, and it's crazy, I think we might see a Pac-12 team win this year. And that would be just like, would that not be the knife in the back? Because they win and then the entire conference disbands the following season and no longer ever exists.
Right.
That would just be just brutal. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it goes. So moving along, Pinky, I'm sorry for stealing your thunder. I truly thought you were going to go there.
You stole my thunder, and I was going to skip right over it because my Hurricanes got fucking just destroyed by the North Carolina.
Well, but I wasn't even. You're lucky I left them out of it 2 weeks ago when he made that atrocious mistake. I can't defend it. I'd leave that open wound alone. Neither did the coach. To his credit, Mario.
I was happy.
To make an excuse.
I was happy that the Broncos were in attendance to watch Drake May, so they could do some work on him. He looked good. So, look, man, May, Penix, Williams. I'm happy with any of them. And we're getting there, buddy. We are doing the let's look okay for 3 quarters and then find a way to lose. We are tanking without tanking. It's beautiful. Embrace the suck. I'm there. Embrace it. My blood pressure doesn't even rise during Broncos games anymore. My wife has to ask if I'm okay just because I'm not reacting. Like, it's fine. It's great.
Acceptance. You finally made it to acceptance. It's good.
I did. I'm moving through those stages quickly.
I don't know if you're quite at the acceptance that I'm at, but you're still at acceptance, which is a long way for you to come. So I can appreciate that.
Like I said, it doesn't affect my emotional mood after the game. Like I'm no longer affected after a loss, which is good. Oh shoot, where do I want to go with that? All right. So we talked about we know nothing. Underdogs definitely played this week. Yes, Caleb's been away ahead in a long time, but Caleb's, unless you were talking about,
it's funny because now it's not Caleb talking negative about the Broncos. It's Caleb's on the same page as all the other Broncos fans.
Again,
I don't know how.
Hold on. The biggest issue I have is all the negativity you've spewed for the last 3 years about the Broncos, which may be completely valid. You don't spew that same negativity about Nebraska.
Not to start the season. Once the season goes along, I do. You have to be able to admit that once the season goes along with Nebraska, I admit the awfulness. But at the beginning of every season, I'm always very hopeful. But that's, again, Pinky, that's because in college, you could be awful the year before, get a new coaching staff or a new recruiting class, and all of a sudden you're good again. Like, it's very easy to do in college. The NFL, it's a lot easier to tell what you have and what's going to happen. It just is. It's easier to read those tea leaves, if you will.
Yeah, so moving on, because, again, what's funny, we'll talk about the Broncos for just a second. It was great having them play Thursday night because then it was just Friday. Like, if you're a fan that is still emotionally going to be hurting after a Broncos loss, then it was just Friday. It wasn't Sunday into Monday. Mondays suck regardless. It sucks worse when you go and you see your coworkers and they're like, your Broncos suck. Like, that sucks.
Sure.
But, like, you only have to deal with that Friday and then it was over, right? So, because everybody forgot the Broncos played on Thursday. The one game the Broncos defense decides to show up, the offense is completely non-existent. Like, the whole game. And
Interesting.
And I'm not going to blame Russell Wilson completely. I'm going to blame Sean Payton.
Oh, interesting.
The game plan.
Interesting.
The game plan was pretty garbage. Like, you're playing a fast defense, and somehow you have nothing. Like, Chris Jones is going to do his thing. Mike McGlinchey, he is okay, but he ain't going to block Chris Jones, and he obviously didn't block Chris Jones. Russ was moving for his life on every play, and yet somehow you didn't plan for that?
Was it almost like he was, I don't know, running an offense from 10 years ago that maybe doesn't quite play well in today's NFL?
Well, it doesn't play well against good defenses. We'll at least say that. So,
yeah,
because it has not looked good the last 2 weeks against good defenses. And the Jets have a good defense. The Chiefs, their defense is the only reason why they won this game, because their offense was definitely not it in this game. So,
is Sean Payton the Broncos version of Ron Rivera?
I'm not ready to go there yet, but I'm giving Sean Payton some blame on this one.
Now, let's be clear. I know Pinky knows what I mean by that. In no shape, way, or form am I trying to say Sean Payton and Ron Rivera are equal when it comes to coaching, okay? Not what I'm saying, guys. Sean Payton's a Hall of Famer. Ron Rivera is not. I'm not a big Ron Rivera guy. I don't think Ron Rivera is a great coach. I think Ron Rivera can be a great leader of men in a bad situation, which is why Washington hired him to kind of right the ship. I feel like Sean Payton's kind of the same thing. It was so bad that you go out there and get someone who can at least point you in a direction and force everybody to go with it so that there's at least some cohesion. All right? Once you have that, then you can start looking at rebuilding. You can start looking at putting the pieces around necessary to win on a permanent basis. I said it before. I didn't necessarily like the hire when it happened. There are other guys that I would have picked over Sean Payton. I didn't think it was a bad hire. I still don't think it's a bad hire. I just wasn't the one I would have gone with, and I don't think it's a long-term answer like a lot of people thought it would be. And, some people can say it's too early to say that. Well, I said after, 6 minutes into the Seattle game with Nathaniel Hackett that it wasn't going to be a good thing. Sometimes you can just see something that that crack's only going to continue to grow.
So, and maybe, just maybe, this is what I'm going with. Sean Payton is a genius. Because he is literally
Yeah, I know where
tanking.
you're going with this.
He is tanking without tanking. Like, we are losing every game that we should win. And even when you look at the game, you're like, how did we lose that game? But we're still losing it. He is tanking without tanking. There's something to be said like that. He did have an interview last season. He said the NFL should move to a lottery system because teams will tank for Caleb Williams. And that's why they should go to a lottery system, which I hate. I hate the lottery. If you're the worst team, you're the worst.
The lottery's
team.
trash. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many reasons why that's a terrible idea. You want to tank for one guy, go right ahead. Especially in the NFL, because it's not going to work. That's been proven time and time and time again. It's 11 dudes against 11 dudes, and it's a chessboard.
Well,
it's not basketball. Basketball, one guy can make a difference, and you can turn it into checkers real easily if you want to.
Right.
That you can't do that with football. One guy is not. Let me repeat that again. Is not. I don't care how good he is, going to be able to win a championship for you. Just not. Patrick Mahomes is not winning a championship without Travis Kelce, right? Like, it's not happening. I fully believe that 100%. Tom Brady ain't winning a bunch of those without Gronk. That's not happening. It's just not. Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, like, you can go back and you can keep looking. They're all going to have pieces around them. And I'm just naming some receivers and quarterbacks. You go talk about the defensive players on the other side of the ball that they had to help them and all. Tanking alone for Caleb Williams, go for it. It's going to help ticket sales. It's going to create revenue. It will not win you a bunch of games unless you're smart with the way you put the rest of the team around you.
So the rest, tanking for Caleb Williams is step one. Step two is building the team around him. And that's just period. And again, at the end of the day, it still comes down to building in the trenches. O-line and D-line. It doesn't matter how many fast wide receivers you have if your quarterback doesn't have enough time to throw the ball.
How's that Marvin Mims pick looking?
I mean, besides the last 2 weeks, it's looked pretty good.
Really? The whole season, our defensive and offensive lines have looked stout. We needed that third, fourth option wide receiver.
When you trade Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and he's the only only wide receivers out there, it'll look great because we've already traded the two guys that are playing. Again, I don't know what their plan was.
I mean, but that's that again. You talk about Sean Payton being a genius. God, I wish you were right, Pinky, but he's done some things that make me think, no, there's no chance of that.
This could be Sean Payton's plan all along. Is I need to rebuild this team with the players I want. I'm going to get rid of the high-priced guys they already have. I'm going to make it look like we're playing to be competitive, but we're going to lose. Who knows? I don't know. That's probably the optimist in me and hoping, and that is what the plan is, to suck as bad as possible.
Like, honestly,
again,
fire sale everything. And I've said that for a couple weeks now. From Patrick Surtain to Justin Simmons to Jerry Jeudy, Sutton, Jamal Williams, everybody.
The only reason why it hasn't been done yet is because the value gets higher at the trade deadline.
I know.
So that's the last second.
I know, but I'm just saying, everyone. Every single piece that you can get something in return for, you should be moving. Plain and simple. And if you're the Penners and you don't understand that right now, God help all of us Broncos fans. Seriously. Because if they don't understand that, we're about to go through a perpetual mediocre to below mediocre stretch. Just be prepared for that.
We've already been below that. We're not even mediocre. We're literally like the worst.
I'm saying if they don't understand that right now, like, this is the turning point. This season is the decision. You don't get to do this one more season. Elway and Ellis kicked the can down the road so many years already that this is the last season to kick it. If you try to kick it one more season, you are going to put yourself so far behind everybody else that's building.
I mean,
you're not going to get there for another decade.
I can't see them not trading Simmons. I can't see them not trading Sutton or Jeudy. And I could see them trading Josie or Singleton, whoever gets interest. And again, I listened to the 5280 podcast before us, which is actually pretty depressing to talk an hour about the Broncos. Like, that's pretty depressing. I'll be honest. I commented on the podcast, like, hey, guys, we could talk about the Avs or the Nuggets. Like, we get a lot better.
Oh, man.
It'd be a lot more positive. They're cutting Russell Wilson at the end of the season.
What?
That they have no choice. They have no choice. It's gonna happen. I will not be shocked if about 3 to 4 games left, they pull a Derek Carr on him and they don't bother coming to the stadium.
Interesting.
Because he has an injury guarantee for next season. If he's on the roster at the league deadline, or the league season, whatever day that is, his next season salary gets guaranteed as well.
Yeah, I don't remember the wagon that I was driving pulling back around. I don't remember me U-turning and coming back to let people on. How did this happen, Binky? Explain to me how I went from a complete idiot and I shouldn't be allowed to talk about the Broncos to everybody telling me I'm late to the party. How did that happen? I'm just trying to figure it out.
I mean, it's just realistic, man. The way his contract's set up. If we got a top 5 pick, we're drafting a quarterback, bro. Like, that's just
oh my goodness.
Again, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. I like Russ. I still see some good things in his game. I've seen a lot that this team, like, I see it where they can't block long enough to let him throw the ball. He's running for his life. I see it where wide receivers aren't open. Like, there's routes that Judy quits on, Sutton quits on.
Effort. We're going to go back to the effort conversation.
It's out there, man.
Well, if the effort's an issue, what does that usually mean at this level? It usually means the message that is being delivered is not being received well.
I don't know.
That message is coming from 2 specific individuals, usually within an organization, the GM and the head coach.
All I know is it's disgusting, and we deserve better. Every fan base deserves better.
I don't care what anybody says. It is worse than last year, Broncos fans. Just finally admit that to yourself, and you'll be able to start recognizing the possibilities that exist. Now, whether those possibilities are taken advantage of will be another story. But I'm telling you right now, this season and offseason is a turning point for whether the Broncos get back into the conversation of being one of the great teams in the NFL, or if they stay in the conversation and honestly start putting themselves in a position where, yeah, they've been to a lot of Super Bowls. Yeah, they've got some great wins. But are they really one of the best organizations, or are they actually one of the bottom tier organizations? That's the turning point that we're talking about right now as Broncos fans. That should be the conversation, because that's the crossroads that this organization is at.
And we don't want to be the Raiders or the Redskins, because that's what happened to them.
Yep.
That's what we don't want. All right. So moving on to more positive stuff. I mean, fuck, we wouldn't even start. I mean, let's see.
Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers for a second. Let's talk about this insanity that's going on, that he literally might come back this season.
What sorcery is going on,
dude?
Here?
Seriously, my mind is blown right now. I don't even understand.
I know he had so from what I understand, he had the same type of surgery Kobe had on his Achilles.
Yep.
Now, this is like a decade after or whatever. Like, it had been a long time since Kobe had that surgery. So this is still a out of the ordinary surgery.
And the rehab process is kind of, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, frowned upon in the medical community right now, because they're basically doing a fast approach to building the Achilles back. And when that was tested some years back, it had terrible results. And so the medical community went back to the slow recovery for Achilles. Rodgers is pushing the limits right now. And the reason they found that the fast recovery is bad for the Achilles is not because it was bad for the Achilles, but they started seeing a lot of ACL injuries on that fast recovery track for the Achilles. So while the Achilles was doing okay, it was another part of the body that was suffering, and which is very common for a lot of injuries. You're strengthening one part, but other parts start depleting. When you come back, those other parts that are working harder to support the injured area end up getting hurt, not the injured area, which is what happened with the Achilles fast recoveries. But Rodgers feels very confident about the way they're doing this and feels like they're doing it in a smart, safe approach, but still pushing those limits for him to try and recover as quickly as possible.
So,
which is absurd. Now, another thing I'll throw in there real quick, is Cam Akers, hurt in training camp, came back and was activated 5 months later as a running back. Now, he is younger, okay? And he didn't quite look all the way himself right away, but he still looked pretty good. And Rodgers doesn't need to be a running back in that same sense. He just has to be able to move around in the pocket like he does and be able to plant and throw off of that foot if he can in that sense. So that's what's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But there is kind of precedent. Cam Akers came back pretty quickly. Rodgers trying to do it even quicker, but still, it's wild.
I'm really concerned with the Jets O-line being what it is.
Sure.
Him coming back too early and his body compensating and tearing something else is my concern.
I mean, this is almost him saying, I'm ready and willing to roll the dice that this can work and we can go out there and do something magical versus I could ruin my career permanently. He's kind of willing to take that risk.
If he comes out and he fucks it up and tears something else, he's pretty much done for next year.
His career's over. So his career would be over pretty much if that happened.
That's a concern for me.
But, and this will be our transition into kind of talking about the week that was and the week that is. Aaron Rodgers, if he does not get hurt, and I've said this before, and I think there's a lot more people kind of willing to say this now. The Jets are the best team, no questions asked, in the NFL if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. No questions asked.
I don't agree with that take. I think they're one of the top teams. I will agree with that, but they're not the best team.
They don't have a loss on their record right now. They don't. I'll still take
the 49ers against them any day.
Not me.
Any day.
Not me.
Any day.
Nope. I won't do that. I think Breece Hall is electric and dangerous in the Christian McCaffrey vein. I'm not saying he's Christian McCaffrey, but he is dangerous in that vein. Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
Wilson would be the best wide receiver.
He's dangerous in that vein. He had 39 yards Sunday. 39 yards.
What did he do the week before?
He was playing the Broncos. That doesn't count.
What did he do the week before?
And he had 80 of that on one run.
Yes, he did. Count. He's that electric. Pinky, you're talking about Zach Wilson. You can stack the box.
Look.
You can load the box all day and play the run. So it's not going to
Are they a top 5 to 6 team with Aaron Rodgers?
Garrett Wilson would be the best wide receiver on the field in that situation. If you're talking about Jets 49ers, Garrett Wilson would be the best wide receiver on the field. I don't think that's a question in my mind. Maybe it is in yours, but it's not in mine. And I think the Jets have the superior defense, and they'd have the better quarterback.
I still don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to stand there without getting pummeled by Nick Bosa and Randy Gregory and whoever else they got on that D-line right now. Like, again, against the shitty teams, I agree. Like, they'll probably dominate against the shitty teams, but when they play teams with good defenses that can challenge that O-line, which is not good at all, he would have some issues.
I mean, Do they beat the Chiefs with Rodgers?
Debatable.
Debatable? They basically almost beat him with Zach Wilson. If there wasn't a referee situation going on, they basically had him beat with Zach Wilson. And you're saying it's debatable if Aaron Rodgers is playing?
So hold on. If Aaron Rodgers is in that game could have a completely different outcome of the way the Chiefs game plan. So you can't say for sure that they're going to win that game.
Yeah, they're going to game plan differently, but how does game planning differently stop the talent and the scoring the defense?
Hold on. It changes the entire outcome of the game. Good or bad.
Dude.
Hold on. I can use fantasy last year. You've even said, if a guy who should have been playing a certain opponent were playing that opponent, the person he's playing changes their roster or tries to do things differently, and the outcome may not have been the same as what it would have been based on paper. That's
Absolutely
exactly what you said.
I'll say it all day.
Same thing happens. You throw Aaron Rodgers in there, the game plan is possibly different. We don't know the outcome.
So the game plan's different. How does that change who the better team is? What? So you're telling me the Chiefs' game plan playing the Jets was let's just barely win? That was the game plan? Let's just barely win?
Did the better team win the majority of games this weekend? Did the better team win the majority of games this weekend? Come on, brother.
The majority, yes. Did they win all of them that they should have? No, but
come on.
Again, circumstantial. If you're going to talk about the 49ers lost on the last second field goal, they're missing a lot of key pieces on offense.
We're splitting a little bit of hairs. I think you're a little overzealous of your love of Aaron Rodgers to say they're the best team. Are they the top? And are they in the top 5 to 6? That's absolutely. I agree. I'm not going to go out and say they're the best, even with Aaron Rodgers. Their O-line is that bad that I don't think they're still the best.
I mean, I'm looking at an O-line that's protecting Zach Wilson enough to win games. That's so to me, it's damn. Then if Aaron Rodgers
take the ball, but they take the ball out of his hands for good reason because of that. And you know I'm right.
Okay.
And you know I'm right.
All right. So there's the Rodgers situation. Then there's the plethora of losses and injuries that have wiped through the entire NFL over this last weekend. So you've got San Francisco missing Debo, Christian McCaffrey, losing to the Browns on a last-second field goal. Then, just wild. Then you turn around and last night, what you witness is Dallas and the Chargers, two teams that going into the season you look at as Super Bowl potential teams, neither one looking great, but coming away with victories where you're like, was that two good teams and it was just a bare knuckle brawl, or was it two mediocre teams?
What happened last night? What happened?
Well, go ahead.
You know what happened, baby.
Go ahead and say it.
Chargers, baby. It's what they do. It's what they do. You can't even be mad at it. It's what they do. You know what I felt bad for? You know what I felt really bad for? So I do follow a Chargers fan on Twitter because she's a great follow. And I don't like it when she's sad. But seeing the Chargers fan in the stands going crazy, and they kept showing her, and she was tiny as hell, little Asian girl, and she was like, and she just had so much passion. I was like, yay, I feel for her. And then when they showed her in that moment of we lost, her sadness, I felt so bad for that. But she roots for a team that it's coaching, it's got to be coaching.
I don't know what it is, dude. That offense I thought would be way more explosive this year.
Here's the thing. You have Kellen Moore is there. That is true. You have Keenan Allen, who's actually looking pretty good.
Yeah, Austin Eckler.
You got Eckler. You've
Gerald
got Herbert.
Everett. You've got plenty of weapons.
Here's the thing. Herbert is absolutely an elite talent. but there's some kind of disconnect from the elite talent he has and the elite talent he puts on the field. Like they're not matching up.
Something's off. Something's just off. I don't know what it is. You're right, though. Something's off. Then you got the Jets beating the Eagles. We just talked about the Jets. One of the reasons I say they're the best team in the league.
I mean, kudos to the Jets defense because they gave Jalen Hurts hell.
Yeah,
every play.
Absolutely.
He had to run every play. And I hate to tell Jalen this, but you don't have Josh Allen's arm or Mahomes' arm on you. You don't have that cannon. So they can run around and off their back foot throw a pass and complete it. You don't have that arm, bro. Because he threw like 2 of them that ended up being picks. That I'm
a couple of them were head scratchers for Jalen.
I feel like Allen or Mahomes can get the ball there.
Maybe.
You can't.
It's the Eagles right now look like a team that's still trying to figure it out after losing a lot of key pieces and both coordinators. Like, that's just what it looks like. They still look like they're one of the best teams in the league. They still look like they're going to be one of the teams talked about at the end of the season. But they look like they are still trying to figure it out. But again, kudos to the Jets. You went out there and without being able to really do anything on offense, find a way to get victories.
So I do have one issue.
Garrett Wilson caught a couple balls that were like, whoa.
I do have one issue after the win there. And it's Robert Saleh saying that they've embarrassed every quarterback they've played.
He's kind of right.
So he's kind of right, but I mean, if you want to look back at it, like
they turned Josh Allen over 4 times, Mahomes twice. They turned Jalen Hurts over 3 times. I mean,
they played, but hold on, they lost to Mac Jones, bro. You lost to Mac Jones, and then on top of that, you got literally embarrassed by the Cowboys. Did you embarrass Dak? Really? So I don't like that comment. I do like the confidence from Saleh, but like you didn't embarrass them all. And again, you're still going to see the Bills again. You're going to see Miami twice. Like calm down. So all right. 49ers and the Browns. Browns have a really good defense, man. Most people are sleeping on that defense. They haven't really been paying attention. That defense is pretty solid. And
might be the best defense in the league, actually. They finally got a coordinator that's getting all that talent to play together instead of individually.
Brock Purdy did not have time to wait for the open guy to get open.
He also only had really Ayuk and Kittle to throw to by midway through the third quarter?
Right, because McCaffrey and Debo were gone.
Debo were out. So you start limiting their weapons.
Now,
and let's be honest, we're not talking about this if their rookie kicker hits that field goal. We're saying, actually, great win by San Francisco. You got out of there. You got lucky with some injuries. Move on to next week.
Right.
But they didn't hit the field goal, and now you're talking about it.
Right. I wasn't so down on that. I watched it because my son's a Browns fan, so we watched it together, and he was excited about it because he thought they would get blown out by the Niners. And if McCaffrey and Debo are healthy, are we even talking about that? Maybe not, right?
Hard to say.
So let's see. Cowboys, Chargers, Bills, Giants. That was one of the grossest games I've ever watched.
So it's what we've been saying about the Bills for the last couple of years now. They are the most inconsistent great team in the league because they can beat anybody, but they can also lose to anybody. And you shouldn't be saying that a possible Super Bowl champion.
I will give them one thing. If there was anybody out there that knows what Josh Allen is not good against, it's Brian DeBall.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think that played into it a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm like multiple times they kept running Latavius Murray instead of James Cook, which didn't make sense to me. Josh Allen's still trying for that big play.
You can have the best game plan in the world, but if you don't have the talent to truly execute it against the other team, you're going to lose. And that's what this game should have really looked like. and instead it looked like the Bills had no clue what they were doing. It makes me question McDermott even more. I'm there. To me, there's a lot of question marks starting to circle.
The
head coach.
They were lucky to escape that game with a W, for sure. Yeah. Rams beat up on the Cardinals. Lions beat up on the Bucks. I love the Lions beating the Bucks. Two teams that were coming in with winning records, and the Lions pretty much dominated that game.
Made the Bucks look like what we thought the Bucks were going to be.
Right. Which I think is starting to put more of like that Lions defense is pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know if it's elite yet, but it's pretty good. Raiders eked out another win against the Patriots. Man, do they suck at tanking? The Raiders are not good at tanking. Like they're like I had to double check it. The Raiders are 3-3. I would not have thought of that. Houston pulling out a win against the Saints. Man, I think there's a conversation we had. Are the Panthers starting to think maybe we should have taken CJ Stroud?
Yep. Like I said, that was the best quarterback in the draft. You didn't take it.
Again,
I said it was that or Anthony Richardson. You don't take Bryce Young.
You know me. I didn't like Bryce Young's size. I didn't like it. I do think he's got some accuracy. I think he's got some. He can throw the ball well. That works great if you've got a good old line and you can protect him, and you've got weapons. They don't have that in Carolina. So Dolphins rolled the Panthers. They even spotted him 14 just to make it interesting for a moment, and then they went off. Jacksonville dominating the Colts, and Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Didn't have a great game, but the defense was awesome for the Jags. So
they're still not hitting on all cylinders like we kind of thought they would be at this point.
They are not.
I mean, they won that game. We had them by the end of the season as the best team in the league, and I'm not seeing that or anything close to it right now.
Well, we didn't say they'd be the best team. We just said they'd have the best record. We took that. They would have the best record. They're 4-2, so they're not far off. But
yeah, but we did have them beating the Chiefs. We had them beating, I think it was the Bills that they played.
They did beat the Bills.
Right. I'm just trying to go through like the schedule without pulling it up right now. We had them beating big names. We had them as really the best team in the league.
So
they
played the Chiefs close. It was 17-9.
They would have had tied for the best record. I think we had Philly and San Francisco at 14-3 as well. So in that regard, I see what you're saying.
But we had the Jags as the best record in the AFC,
which is why overall. I said the best team in the league, because we think the AFC is stronger than the NFC. So that's kind of why I was going there. But I understand where you're coming from. You're right. Cheers.
Vikings beat the Bears. They tried to lose that game. The Vikings are like, no, let's just lose. And the Bears wouldn't let them lose. So Fields got hurt, unfortunately. Fractured thumb, might be out a couple weeks. That hurts the Justin Fields train, man. I think for him to if the Bears get the number 1 and number 2 pick, Fields needed to keep playing really well. And it had to be about everybody else around him, not him. If he doesn't play a couple games, I don't think he's going to have that chance, man. I think it's going to be, we're just moving on. So
I think he's about to miss 4 weeks. Based on the injury, dislocated thumb, tried to come back in the game, couldn't even grip the ball.
If he misses 4 weeks, does he have any chance of being the Bears starter next season?
Yes, and this is why. I think it's long odds, but yes, and this is why. I think he kind of told the coaching staff, F you, we better start being smarter with what we're doing, and I'm going to start playing a little more free. And I think that's what we kind of started to see the last couple of weeks. If he can come back and do that with the talent that he does have at his disposal with DJ Moore. Komet was starting to play really well. He could show them enough that if they did get those top 2 picks, you could see them go best offensive lineman and Marvin Harrison Jr. I could see that happening. Now, again, I think they're long odds at this point. Like you said, he's missing those opportunities to show that he is who they should build around.
So I've got 2 things on that. No fault of his own. He's in his 3rd season. After the 3rd season, it's better for a team to pay a quarterback now than wait till the end of his rookie deal. Because then that quarterback's got him by the shirt and curlies. He's shown some flashes, but it hasn't led to wins. His fault, coach's fault. I think the blame can go everywhere. I don't think it's completely his fault. But if I'm the GM who did not draft him, it's the third. He's going to finish up his 3rd season, and I have Caleb Williams in my lap. I can't see them keeping him. I can't.
I agree.
Because then we're only left with a year to 2 years to pay him.
I know. I agree. It's a long shot, Pinky, because you have the option to then go Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. with what you already have there, and DJ Moore and Komet, the defense that you started to build around, and so on and so forth. It's going to be a hard sell. I fully agree with you. So let's play this game. Because I think you're right. Like I said, I think it's long odds that he stays now. I think it's long odds that the Bears keep him. They're going to have to trade him. You don't just release him. So in that scenario, where would you say are some of the top landing spots for Justin Fields? I mean, if we're being realistic, I don't think there's many. And I'm a huge Fields guy. We already know that. So there are teams I think should go after him. I don't think they will. So where would you think are landing spots for Fields?
So I think the trade options are limited because of like the remaining amount on his contract. Because I don't know if a lot of teams want to give up assets for him to be a backup. Maybe they do. I think his contract's probably not too bad. I mean, the Cowboys traded for Lance, so could there be some teams that want to trade for Fields? Sure. Gosh. Like the Bucks make sense, maybe. I was like, maybe okay, Baker's okay, but maybe we can get more out of Fields.
Okay. There's 2 teams at the top of my list. I'll just tell you that right now. There's 2 teams at the top of my list.
You know what's one that I think actually makes some sense to me? I just don't know if they would do it. Seattle.
Okay, that would be my 3rd or 4th team, depending on how I'm going.
Because I've seen Geno Smith turn a little bit more into a pumpkin this season. He's not playing like he did last year.
Okay. You got any other thoughts before I give you mine?
I mean, the Falcons need a quarterback, and they may not suck enough to get up there in the top. So. And the Titans, like both of those 2 teams, they're like in mediocre hell. Like they're good enough to not get a top pick, but they still suck.
So I don't like the Titans at all. That's not even on my radar.
I mean, not for his skill set.
Atlanta is number 1
quarterback.
Atlanta is by far number 1 on my radar. Number 2, and you're not going to like it, but it's Denver. And this is why. And it's the same for Atlanta. The talent in the ceiling is still very high. He's shown that. And you can sign him to a Daniel Jones type contract right now that would be extremely team friendly over the next 4 years. So doing that and putting him with the talent that would be around him in Atlanta, or if people do truly believe in Sean Payton and that he could develop a quarterback, if Denver falls outside that kind of top 5, that top 6, and you're not looking at Williams, Penix, or maybe Drake May, then I think trading for Fields would actually be a great way to build on the future if you do believe in Sean Payton, because you could get him on that Daniel Jones contract, again, which would be crazy team-friendly over those next 4 years, to almost of the point a rookie salary deal for a quarterback that you can still work with and build the team around.
So,
Number three, because I said Seattle is probably 3 or 4. So you put Seattle, let's say Seattle is 3 or they are 4. That third or fourth team that I have in there, Minnesota.
So Minnesota's not bad. Seattle's not horrible either. I mean, so most of those teams are good options. Falcons are definitely a great option because they're not paying a lot of people. I think they could take that on. I think he would play within the like running the ball, play action. He is a threat to run the ball as well. So I think that does play well. Denver makes no sense from not the fact that, yeah, we could probably use him. But if they're eating that Russell contract, the best way to handle that is with a rookie quarterback deal, not like paying on Fields deal. So, like, I don't think it's not a horrible thought from like a football standpoint. From a salary standpoint, that's not going to work. They're going to eat that Russ deal and they're going to take on a quarterback friendly deal. That's what's going to happen.
You could, though. I mean, the Panthers could easily take those contracts on. That's not a problem. It's not.
They could, but
it's whether you want to try and live through quarterback hell for a couple more years and hope you finally hit on a guy, or take a guy that could truly be a generational type talent and let Sean Payton work his magic.
I don't think Sean Payton looks at Fields and says, that's my guy.
I agree with you there. I understand that too. But, man, he was willing to work with Taysom Hill. He was willing to make him his guy. You're telling me he couldn't make Fields something special? Because if that's what you're telling me, in all honesty, if that's what you're telling me right now, then Sean Payton needs to go.
I don't know what he saw in Taysom Hill. Like, Taysom Hill is a great Swiss Army knife, do it all. He's not a guy that's your starting quarterback. So,
but again, if he is willing to do that, Taysom Hill, you're telling me he couldn't make Justin Fields special? He couldn't see those same ideas that he was going to do with Taysom Hill with Justin Fields? That's what you're going to tell me? Because again, if you're telling me that,
so
Sean Payton's
I'm not saying
this head coach.
I'm not saying it's a bad football move. I just say from a salary standpoint, it ain't happening, bro.
But
they're not paying Russell Wilson's salary and then paying Justin Fields $40 million a year. It's not happening.
Why not? Why? Because other people in NFL history haven't done it? Is that why?
Because you still got to, like, our entire roster is garbage at this point, and they're going to trade half of it. So most of it's not coming back. So you got to build the rest of the roster around it. We've already seen when Justin Fields has a horrible roster, he can't do shit. So
what do?
It doesn't match up.
You get Justin Fields and you build the interior, and that's where you start. And then you already have your quarterback and you're building your interior. You just said from a football standpoint, from a football standpoint, you just said it's a good move. It would be a smart.
If you don't have to worry about salary, yeah, but you have to worry about salary.
Why does the salary matter? These are the richest owners in NFL history by a lot, Pinky. We talked about this by like 5 times over.
They're not going to get back into this situation by overpaying a guy that doesn't completely have all the buy-in.
But that wouldn't be overpaying, though. That's the kicker here. Is it would be such a team-friendly deal at that point.
But why pay him over $40 million? But why pay him over $40 million a year when you could just have a rookie contract that's only $40 million for the 5 years?
For the same reason the Giants paid Daniel Jones.
It's just business sense, man.
It does, though. For the same reason they paid Daniel Jones, because if he's the guy, if he turns into the guy, you got a deal.
But let's be honest. The majority of people out in the world, even the casual fans, would not have paid Daniel Jones $40 million a year. I don't even know why the Giants paid him $40 million a year. They could have got Andy Dalton to provide the same results, like for a lot less money.
Biggie, you haven't been listening to us quite long enough to know this, but the salary cap is mirage, my guy. That number can be manipulated any way you want to fit anybody you want on that team.
So,
I guarantee you.
Biggie, the bill comes due. Absolutely true. But you, for a good 5 years or so, can work that cap any way you want it. The bill does eventually come due.
Depends.
But for a while, you can work it how you want.
Depends on if you have guys like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes on your team that are willing to constantly rework their deals.
Well, until Patrick Mahomes just reworked his deal and took a lot more money, right? So he just got paid. So people forget that. He just got paid.
Everybody thought he got paid the first time around too. And
his update makes it.
The way his contract is set up, though, again, he did it again. The way his contract is built is it allows for manipulation of the salary cap. It allows for him to be paid in bonuses up front.
Right.
It allows for him to allow his salary cap numbers to be lowered in certain situations. It allows him to continuously rework his deal to where, yeah, he's making all this money, but it's actually not hitting the salary cap of the team in a negative way that causes them to not pay other players.
And Biggie, I definitely in the past used to believe in the whole salary cap thing, but enough teams have proved me wrong that like they figure it out on how to make it work to where it doesn't really matter. So that is what it is. But yes, I would.
Let me ask you this. How much college football and Drake May have you watched, Biggie? And I'll say it to Pinky too, because I know it's not enough to make a true assessment over Justin Fields. It's just the hype train that's around him right now with people calling him as good as potentially Caleb Williams.
There's a big hype train around Drake May. That's absolutely true. But I've never been a big fan of Justin Fields.
I know you haven't. So I'm not trying to say it that way, but
so I'm not the guy to ask that question.
You watch Drake May, and I get a lot of the same feelings I did with Mitchell Trubisky, with Sam Howell, even more recently. Really solid quarterbacks coming out of North Carolina. Now,
I've seen better out of May than those two guys.
Drake May has more playing time than Trubisky, and he appears to have more raw talent than Sam Howell. But I'm still not sold on the overall of Drake May. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad quarterback. And he's not playing at Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia where there's an insane amount of talent around him that he can just show out all the time either. So I like him. But I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to hide from him. I've been a huge Justin Fields guy from the start. And I think Justin Fields can be exceptional. I don't quite get that feeling with Drake May. So, again, roundabout things. I think, Pinky, to me, if you trade the farm like you should with this team and burn it all down to rebuild from the ashes, if you could steal Justin Fields for a third-round pick and sign him to that kind of deal, I think you would be just killing the offseason. So, but again, Broncos are 2 on my list. Atlanta, I think, would just be, man, if he showed up in Atlanta, I think Arthur Smith and those boys, we would be talking about as an NFC championship game team next year. Like, I think they're that close to really doing something special down there. I do. I really do. I think that offense that Arthur Smith has running down there right now is potent. And they're a quarterback away from just doing crazy things.
Here's the thing. Part of the issue they have, and I'm like really, really faulting Arthur Smith on this. You have Bijan, who is arguably one of the best weapons at running back in the league, coming out of college. Run the ball, catch the ball as a receiver. They get into the red zone, and they immediately take him off the field. That makes no sense. You have your best weapon.
He's had a lot of red zone touches. They're just – I don't think people like the Eagles fit with Algier.
I have Bijan in multiple fantasy leagues, and I watch every time to pay attention. And as soon as they get in the red zone, they put Algier in. It's almost automatic. And it makes no sense.
I've seen a lot of Bijan. He had that insane red zone touch last week where he caught the ball behind his back basically without even looking at it. So he's getting them.
Not enough.
All right, hold up. Hang on. Hang on. Big E, if you're going to say that, then you're saying Justin Fields is a top 3 talent in the NFL.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson before all his shit was way better than Justin Fields. Like, it's not even close. Not even close.
Deshaun Watson was a top 3 quarterback in the league before he sat down. So let's easy there. You don't like Justin Fields, that's fine. But I'll go with the product on the field that I've seen and evaluated rather than a secondhand cousin's daughter's boyfriend's uncle's friend talking about him being lazy when maybe they're just not great people that he is hanging out with and just decided to relax. Who knows? But what I saw him do at Ohio State on the field was outplay Trevor Lawrence 2 years in a row on the biggest stage. And I know Pinky doesn't like talking about college, and that doesn't translate, so on and so forth. But what I saw was elite talent. I don't care what somebody says about him being lazy off the field. I saw a dude who balls out when he's playing. That's what I care about. So, we'll see.
I mean, he's got you on that one.
I didn't say Kenny Pickett was better than Baker Mayfield. I said he was going to have a better year than Baker Mayfield. There's a difference. I liked what Pittsburgh had option-wise for their weapons more than I liked what Tampa Bay had, and Baker has a track record of turning the ball over a lot. There's still a lot of season left, Big E, for Baker to fall on his face, okay? Will he have a better season than Kenny Pickett? Yeah, I think we could probably say at this point that he'll probably end up with a better season than Kenny Pickett. But easy. No place in my mind do I ever think Kenny Pickett is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. So easy.
Yeah, I mean, only a very dumb person would say Kenny Pickett's a better quarterback than Baker. But you could make arguments that Kenny Pickett may have better around him. I would still make the argument that Pittsburgh sucks altogether on offense.
Look, I failed to take into account that their offensive coordinator refuses to evolve and be better at his job. I just didn't think that would happen, and it did.
So,
sorry.
Biggie, currently, I think Deshaun Watson is done. I don't think we're going to get like
it's hard to sit 2 years.
Happy feelings.
Hard to
Deshaun
sit 2
Watson.
years and get back to where you were.
So I don't think we're going to get that dude anymore. But pre-happy endings, he was pretty damn special.
And that's a lot for Pinky, because if you listen to us back in the day, before all that hit, you would know Pinky he was not a Deshaun Watson fan. And that takes a lot for Pinky to be able to say that. So just keep that in mind.
It's hard, and it still feels hard now to say that, but he could do it, man. Like, if you put that guy on the current Browns team, like, I mean, you're not completely wrong, Biggie, but again, like, a quarterback drafted number 1 can only do so much when he's with a shit organization. Like,
numbers he was putting up on that organization with the pieces around him were absurd. Absurd. There's very few quarterbacks in the league that would have been able to put up the same numbers Deshaun Watson did on those Houston Texans teams. That's just a fact.
Yeah. So, God. Okay. Well, let's see. Where were we at? We need to move on.
We can start moving on to this week.
Yeah. Nothing else from last week really mattered. All right. Let's see. A couple of these games we'll do quick hitters. Browns and Colts.
I am bummed, super bummed that Anthony Richardson will be missing the rest of the season. I thought you were starting to see some flashes of what that potential could be with him and Steichen. And this rookie year would have been so huge for his development. Now he'll get a focus more on the mental aspect, which is what a lot of people said was something he was lacking coming into the league. So that'll help. Sitting behind Gardner Minshew, who is a damn fine backup and could start for a few teams in the league. So he'll be able to learn a lot, but I'm bummed. I'm bummed that we don't get to see what he did this season.
I'll address this, Biggie. Baker Mayfield currently in Tampa has way better than anything Deshaun's playing with in Cleveland right now. Like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are number ones on almost every team they play on. Deshaun Watson's got Amari Cooper, which is nice. He ain't no Mike Evans and he ain't no Chris Godwin.
No, he's Chris Godwin. Amari Cooper's as good as Chris Godwin. Amari Cooper's as good as Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. He is an elite wide receiver, but there's only one of him. They don't have Nick Chubb anymore, so the run game isn't a weapon. And no, Deshaun Watson isn't what he used to be. You want to call him a bust for Cleveland? That's fine, but to call him a bust as an NFL player or as a draft pick, definitely not.
Cleveland is not going to get the returns on that trade.
But everybody said that would happen. Everybody looked at Cleveland and said, "What? Why? That's not there. None of that makes any sense."
What's funny is he actually, like, him going to Atlanta made more sense, and actually maybe have worked out for all teams involved, to be honest. So Browns should win that game. It's in Indiana.
Biggie, are you an OU guy? Like, I got to understand this Baker love, because Baker is nothing special. So you got to be an OU guy, or maybe Texas Tech. Maybe you go back that far. I don't know. But the Baker love is wild to me, my guy.
I'm not a huge fan of Baker himself. I do like his passion and his leadership. I've never been a big fan of his game, though.
Biggie, I apologize. I'm not quite following the logic here.
Are you comparing either one of those dudes to Peyton Manning?
Well, that's fine. If you want to compare Watson to Peyton Manning, that's fine. You take Deshaun Watson off of those Houston teams, they don't win any games. I'll go that far. They win 0 games if Deshaun Watson isn't playing. They had the worst offensive line in the league most of the years he was the quarterback, just like when they had Carr and completely ruined that young man. They never had a defense. They had J.J. Watt, but they never had a defense.
And are we trying to compare Deshaun Watson to Peyton Manning, who's arguably a top 5 quarterback of all time, who is a supercomputer and like knows every defense he plays against, and like his O-line is not great, but he can make them look good by just getting the ball out of his hands quick? Like,
let's do this, Pinky. Let's do this, because I know where you're going to go, and it's rare, but we're going to cheers after this. Peak for peak, there is nobody I know that would take Baker Mayfield over Deshaun Watson. 0 people I know would make that choice. Deshaun Watson, when he was playing at his best, is exponentially better than Baker Mayfield at his best.
Ever. And I've got my Deshaun Watson takes that I've had. So, like, and I would still cheers that.
Yeah, buddy. Attaboy, Buwana Beast. Welcome.
Drew Brees is one of the most accurate guys of all time. All right.
That's a great statement.
Let's see. What else we got here? I don't know why Bleacher does this. I like it if they just did it by time. Bills, Patriots. Bills are going to.
That's why you should start using ESPN. It makes so much more sense. Just saying.
I just like Bleacher. Bills, Patriots. Bills are going to curb stomp them.
Are we talking about potentially the end of Bill Belichick? Or does he just get his GM stripped from him and he gets one more chance as a head coach?
I think it's time to it's time to rip the Band-Aid off.
And let's be honest, their remaining schedule and what they have left, they're legitimately in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
They absolutely are. Like, the one game that's sticking out is the Broncos and Patriots. Like, that's the one game on the Broncos schedule that they're still favored. Like, they're still favored in one game. It's against the Patriots.
I honestly don't understand how, but okay. Okay.
It's because the Patriots are just as bad and the Broncos are at home.
I got to move on, but
I mean, they made the playoffs with Deshaun Watson. Yeah, they sucked after that, but they still made the playoffs. Like, we're moving on, Biggie.
It was Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and J.J. Watt. Like that was the entire
Pretty-
team. There literally
pretty
was
much.
nothing else.
And they would have been fine if they had not given Bill O'Brien GM powers, because once he got GM powers, he just ruined it.
let's remember
So-
they had the Chiefs down 20 to nothing at halftime or something like that.
Right.
So,
Well, it wasn't halftime. It was like the end of the first quarter. It was like 28-7, and then they
it was
ended up
something
losing.
crazy, and then they just imploded.
Right.
But yeah, so
Yeah, they were winning that game.
Piggy's a Marshall University guy, and he's out here defending Baker Mayfield like he's some kind of Pro Bowler. I'm blown away, Biggie. You
But I mean,
you got me at a loss
Hey.
for words, my guy.
as I say, you do you, boo. You do you. You like
I
Baker?
can't talk. I bleed red through and through no matter what, so I'm not gonna say anything.
Well, there's no good quarterbacks that come from Nebraska not named Frazier, so we're good.
Crouch has a Heisman.
I mean, he does, but he was awful after that. But,
I mean, look, like he wasn't a quarterback in the NFL. Okay. Could he be a quarterback in the NFL today? Maybe. You want to hear
All right,
something
moving
real
on.
crazy? Eric Crouch greater than Tim Tebow.
maybe. Now you froze.
No,
Now
I'm,
you're
good.
gonna
I'm here.
answer.
I'm here.
All right, moving
Okay.
on. Commanders Giants. Commanders will win that game.
You think so? You think it's that simple?
I do.
Okay.
I don't see the Giants winning many games.
The Giants
Like,
are going to
I'm-
have a tough decision because I agree. We already had them falling back this year from where they were last year, and I think they're going to fall even more maybe than what we had them. They could be sitting at a Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and then what do? Do you really pass on Caleb Williams to keep Daniel
No.
Jones? Hell no.
No, hell no.
But then,
you'll
but then
eat that money.
But then you're going to take Caleb Williams. You're probably not keeping Saquon. You made the mistake of not signing him to the deal and keeping it's just going to turn into a mess. And I still love
Right.
Daboll there. I still would love to see them keep him and give him a couple more years to see what he can truly do. But
So-
he fell into a bit of a mess.
If their O-line was healthy, I think they'd be playing better. But their O-line's not. They can't protect anybody that's behind quarterback right now.
And
So-
we're going into this whole look. Daniel Jones is not a superstar quarterback, but he might be okay to build around and go towards a Super Bowl. But you're not doing it. You failed on all your offensive line options. You still haven't given him weapons to throw to. Like you paid the quarterback and then you didn't do anything to help him. So you still don't know if he was worth the money. And I think that's a legit take. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is anything special,
So-
but we truly don't know that.
When a guy's best season is like 3,200 yards and 15 touchdowns, and you made the playoffs, it's hard to give that guy $40 million.
I agree, but again, I kind of looked at last season as Daniel Jones's rookie season. Like that's kind of how I looked at it because what he had before that was equivalent to Matt Patricia and his former head coach Judge. Like that's what he was
So,
working with, right?
I just
it's
think-
not like he had anything.
I think they really got his ceiling last season. Like that was his ceiling.
We disagree on that, but I understand where you're coming from, and we both agree you shouldn't have paid him. So we're okay there. But I don't know if it's so easy to just say Giants.
So these next two games I think are interesting. Falcons Bucks. Division game. It's in Tampa.
I think you see Tyler Heineke finally come in and start playing, and I like Atlanta to win.
I can't see that because like Ritter's played the last couple games. He's put up good yards and points.
He
and
had
won.
3 turnovers last week, and it cost
I
them the
know.
game. That
I
last one.
still think they're gonna roll
That
with him
ball
until
he
the wheels
threw
fall
up where
off.
he was just running to his right and floated into the end zone that looked like he was literally throwing it to the other team. Dude, I think he's on such a short leash. I think we see Tyler Heineke this week.
To me,
Did you
almost
see the look on Arthur Smith's face after that ball was thrown? Did you see the look on that man's face?
he always looks like that though. That's what's funny. To me,
Dude.
like Ritter Ritter has gotten so much more leash than he should have gotten. Like, I would have been game 2 and been like, okay, I'm out. Like, I've got a quarterback I know I can get at least consistent play from, and that's what I need. I'm out.
For sure.
They've got nothing invested in Ritter. He was a second-round pick.
Yep.
So, let's see. Oh, God. I don't touch this game. Don't bet this game. It's $2.50. Don't bet this game. I have no idea what is going to happen.
I'd take Atlanta. I would.
Lions, Ravens.
Are the Lions the best team in football right now?
No, but they're in the top 5. If you want to have a conversation, I'm not going to call you an idiot.
Is Sean McVay regretting the Matthew Stafford trade right now?
No, he got a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
That's all that mattered.
I agree with you.
All that mattered.
We know how I feel about that, so I agree with you. But Jared Goff has elevated his game since he went to Detroit.
So I don't think he's even elevated his game. I think he's just getting protected. Jared Goff's a more than fine quarterback when protected. It's when he's not protected that he folds like a chair.
That's not a bad. I mean, the offensive line he's playing with in Detroit right now is definitely better than what he had in LA.
Even with the Rams, he went to a Super Bowl.
I agree.
You don't do that usually if you're a shit quarterback.
No, you're absolutely right. I just think we're at a position now where when they first traded for him, it was here's our bridge quarterback and we'll find somebody in a year or two. I don't think that's how Detroit's thinking at all anymore.
Possibly not. And again, when he's protected, he plays well. When you can rush him, he struggles some.
He's on pace for something crazy like 4,100 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions or something like that.
Which is kind of funny because, again, it's almost like a difference in seasons because last year, Geno Smith was protected really well, looked amazing. This year, Jared Goff's being protected pretty well. He looks amazing. So we're having a different
really
narrative
good last year too. It's just like the
he looked pretty good
of him in this offense and the offensive coordinator. Who's the offensive coordinator?
Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson.
Who, let's be honest, he might be right now top 3 offensive minds in the game.
Well, let's say he got he got a job interview this last go around. He didn't. I think he decided to pull his name. I would not be shocked if he gets some more this next go around.
No, he'll be a head coach next cycle. I fully believe he'll be a head coach next cycle. And what he's doing with Jared Goff, any team that gets one of those top quarterbacks, you better be looking at this dude to come help groom that quarterback into the NFL.
So I like the Lions a lot. I think they're right there. I'm trying to remember who they lost to. Because they beat the Chiefs.
Yep, they beat the Chiefs. I'll get it here. You could probably pull it up right there off the schedule, but
they beat the Packers pretty handily.
Thank
you for the update, Cody. We appreciate you.
It's sad that we don't remember this because we should.
I think they lost
to the Jags week 2, 25-7.
No, they lost to the Seahawks. The Lions lost to the Seahawks 37-31 in overtime week 2.
Oh, my bad. That was preseason. I don't know why I was looking at that. I was like, I don't even remember them playing the Jags. Yeah, it was the Seahawks.
So they lost in overtime. So,
yeah.
Again, they were right there till the end. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a conversation to be made that you could say they might be the best team in the NFL. I'm going to say that they're at least in the top 5. I would I'd still put the 49ers and the Eagles both above them in their conference. I still probably put the Chiefs right there. And then
Jets.
I put the Dolphins right there. I put
Dolphins.
the Dolphins right there.
They're all in they're in that tier now. We'll say that.
So Lions are going to win that game. It's in Baltimore, and Baltimore's 3-point favorites. Lions are going to win that game.
I'm good with that. Here's what I will say though, and I think it's kind of funny to me. Let me ask you this: how do you feel about Lamar Jackson's season so far?
So I think he's still getting comfortable in what they're doing. Because it doesn't, I've watched him. I've got him in a couple fantasy leagues in Dynasty. Something is still off within the offense.
I agree.
And it could be he's thinking too much. It could be at the end of the day, like, again, does he have 3 number 2s right now in Odell, Zay Flowers, and Bateman? Probably. Does he have a number 1 that's always open that he could just throw the ball to when he's in trouble besides Mark Andrews? No, he doesn't.
And what's really crazy is they probably traded away the best receiver that would be on this team for a first-round pick.
Right.
I think Hollywood would be their number 1 if he was on the team right now.
Right. So I think he's still getting used to it. Now, again, to be 4-2, still figuring things out, I think Jim Harbaugh will take that.
Absolutely. But I agree with you. I think they lose this game.
Or John Harbaugh would take that.
John, yeah. But, yeah, I'm with you. Rolling next.
Raiders are playing the Bears. Raiders are going to win another game, guys.
Yeah, because Justin Fields isn't playing.
Raiders are going to win another game.
Also, Jimmy G's probably not playing. It sounds like Brian Hoyer will get the start.
I don't know why. Play Aiden O'Connell.
I don't either.
Play
It
Aiden
doesn't
O'Connell.
make any sense. Yeah, it's
to me playing Brian Hoyer does you nothing. Play Aiden O'Connell. You're going to win this game with Aiden O'Connell. Just play him. Get him some experience.
Or you're going to lose it. You're going to find out that you don't have a quarterback still, and it just puts you one step closer to a better draft pick.
Can we just trade Devontae Adams? Can we just get that over with?
Are you kidding me right now?
Dallas, call him up.
Yo, Devontae's saying all the right things, but you know that man is wishing he had never left Green Bay.
Absolutely. You know Devontae is like, bro, call up the Chiefs. We know the Raiders are not trading Devontae to the Chiefs. That ain't happening. But that'd be like the best place for him. The second place is the Cowboys. Dallas, make that call.
He's not getting traded, but he should.
He's getting traded. He needs to get traded. Because they're not throwing him the ball anyway, so why even have him at this point? Like, they love Jacoby Myers, which is great. Like, that's fine. But
Jacoby Myers only looks like a 1 because Devontae Adams is on the other side of the field getting double teamed. So if you try to run Jacoby Myers out there as a 1, things are going to look ugly real quick.
I don't mind the Raiders winning games. That way they're not even close to the Broncos.
Sure.
Pick, so that's
Sure.
We can agree on that. Cardinals, Seahawks.
Cardinals are more competitive than we thought they would be, but Seahawks will move along.
Seahawks will probably win that game. Steelers and Rams. I even forgot the Steelers even existed since they didn't play last week.
This is going to sound just stupid and crazy, but I think the Steelers win this game, and I have no rhyme or reason for it.
I don't. I think the Rams will win this game. The only thing that hurts is Kyren Williams may not play, and he's been doing a fantastic job for them. But I don't think the Steelers can cover Kupp or Puka. And Stafford right now is healthy and upright. As long as he can still let it fly, the Steelers ain't got nothing to hold that down, man. And the Steelers' defense is, or not defense, their offense is just garbage. I don't see them. I think the Rams will just put up enough points, which is why the Rams are 3-point favorites.
Okay.
The One of the better games. This is the afternoon slate. Before we get into the primetime games, we do have Chargers and Chiefs. God, I love this. Chargers are going to lose again. I love it.
Funny enough, this is a game I would not touch. I would not touch this game.
The Chargers and Chiefs usually play pretty close. So I don't know.
The Chargers
could
can easily win this game.
But...
The Chargers could easily win this game, but I fully agree with you that they're going to Charger somehow. Cheers, my guy.
They'll find a way to Charger. And Biggie, we are in full agreement, my man. Lamar needs more help around him. I agree.
Well, they never put help around him. I said that in the offseason. They still didn't do anything to truly give him what he needs.
I mean, they gave him some number twos, but he needs a number one. He needs a guy he can trust is always open. He didn't have that guy.
Odell looks like he's done. Bateman, I thought he would be a number one. I don't know what that guy is. And Zay Flowers looks like he's going to be good, but he's not going to be the guy.
I mean, I think Zay Flowers is a great number two.
Yes.
Like you have him in the slot, and you've got him for first downs, but he's not the guy. Like when I talk about a number one, I'm talking like Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like the guys that are open like all the time.
You know what would be crazy? And I just had this thought. I know Cincy has been saying all the right things and Burrow and everybody about bringing T. Higgins back. But what if T. Higgins ended up in Baltimore?
Not horrible.
Not
horrible. He's definitely the number one in Baltimore for sure. That's not even a conversation.
I still think he's as good as Chase. They just play differently, so it looks a little bit different. But at the end of the season, the numbers are always very similar.
You know what? On Sunday, I think I might have to dual screen it on Sunday. I normally do not dual screen on Sunday during a Broncos game. But the Chargers-Chiefs game is a whole lot more interesting than the Packers-Broncos game. And Vegas has no idea what's going to happen because they have the Packers as 1-point favorites, which means they really don't know.
But that's because
the Packers have a better record, so that's why they have the
Jordan
Packers.
Love isn't going to play, right? Is Love out?
No, he's playing.
Is he?
No, they had a bye last week.
I know they had a bye. I thought I remember hearing something about him being questionable.
No, Love wasn't hurt. He was fine.
Well, then Packers will blow out the Broncos, and this game's not really going to be that close, in my opinion.
I don't know about blowing out. I don't know about blowing out.
10 plus. 10 plus.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. No way. Jaguars Saints.
Jags should run away with this game, but the Saints will make it competitive. Jags win by 4, somewhere in there.
Saints are favored. It's at home.
Nah, no way.
Trevor Lawrence ain't playing. Or he's questionable to play.
I know,
with
but
a knee.
I still don't. The Saints offense looks anemic. It looks bad.
Well, Derek Carr is struggling. And I don't get, like, he has eyes for Michael Thomas, and he hates Chris Olave for some reason. I don't know why.
Jawan Johnson isn't doing anything. Kamara's looked good these last couple of games, but it hasn't led to good results, so I don't really know.
Game of the weekend, boys. Dolphins-Eagles on Sunday Night Football with All America watching. Hyped up for this. This is a statement game for the Dolphins. Like, they're playing a tough opponent in Philly. If they want to be taken seriously, they need to go in and handle business. The only problem is Dolphins defense is still pretty bad.
It's not looking great. And Jalen Ramsey coming back doesn't look like it would solve a lot of those issues at this point.
I mean, he ain't coming back till playoffs, though. Like, that's not even an issue until playoffs. He's not coming back till then.
I thought they were looking at week 10-ish for him to come back.
They're talking maybe by the playoffs.
Okay.
So,
I mean, okay. It doesn't matter. I don't think even him there changes a lot.
The Dolphins should be on the phone. What corner can we pick up in the meantime to help until Ramsey gets back?
I don't think it's corner. They need to figure out their pass rush, man. Chubb's not doing it. Nobody else is out there doing anything for him. You're not getting pressure quarterback. It doesn't matter what you have in the secondary.
I don't know if Jalen Phillips is back yet. I think that's one of the problems.
Either way,
he may have been out for a little bit.
You can survive in the secondary if you have a pass rush. You could have the best secondary in the world, but if you don't have a pass rush, that secondary is going to get burned eventually.
Oh, Jalen Phillips did play this last Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then I mean their best pass rusher so far this season's been Van Geekel. Really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Chubb's okay, but he's not great.
But it doesn't necessarily matter when that offense is doing what that offense is doing.
Again, you just need a defense to create some takeaways if your offense is that good.
You don't even need that. You just need them to bend and not break. Allow some field goals, not touchdowns.
Philly's defense has got so many injuries in the secondary.
They got a lot of holes.
Man, the over's 52. I feel pretty good about that.
I'll take that over for sure.
I feel pretty good about that.
That's going to turn into a track meet with you're looking at Waddle and Hill and Mostert, and then you're looking at it's crazy. You're looking at Swift and Smith and Brown and Goddard, and the talent level and the skill positions in this game is absurd.
If you have Dolphins or Eagles in your fantasy, go ahead and put them in your lineup.
Make sure they're all in your lineup for sure.
Thank us later. Sure. The last game of the weekend on Monday night is 49ers and Vikings. Is there any? I mean, 49ers if McCaffrey does, it sounds like McCaffrey and Debo might still be able to play because it's Monday night. If they both play, man, this game's just done. Don't even worry about it.
Should be. I don't know why, because nothing about this is going to make sense. And I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but I have this kind of odd, weird feeling that Kirk Cousins is going to play well in a primetime game.
No.
Now, hear me out. No Justin Jefferson. They're not expected to win at all, even if 49ers are missing those dudes. I think Kirk Cousins has a really good game. I'm not saying Vikings win, but I'm telling you right now, I'm doing it. If you have Kirk Cousins, play him this weekend. I know it sounds stupid and weird, but I have a very, very strong feeling about Kirk Cousins having a great game this weekend.
Caleb, I'm going to say this as I normally do. Bro, primetime Kirk Cousins is a real thing.
It
is fucking awful in primetime.
It is. You're right. It is.
He is awful in primetime. I will absolutely disagree with you on that. I do not have that feeling at all. I could have the feeling that he will have an okay game, but I definitely won't feel good about him having a great game. That ain't happening.
I've got this feeling, man. He's going for about 302.
And I think they still lose by 20.
I didn't say they're going to win. I just said Kirk Cousins is going to have a good game.
I guess that depends on what we want to say a good game is.
Would you say 302 is a good game?
Fantasy-wise, sure.
Real life, that's a good game. What do you mean fantasy-wise?
I mean, it's still measured in wins and losses too, though. So,
well, yeah,
if you go 300 for 2 and you lose by 20, it's still not a good game.
The fact that quarterbacks get the wins and losses just
okay. Hold on,
getting the wins and loss.
So, if he goes 3 for 2 with 2 interceptions, is it still a good game?
No, that would be an okay game. If he throws the 2 picks, that would be an okay game.
Because that's normally what primetime Cousins does.
You're right, and I'm saying he's not doing that. We're leaving out the 2 picks is what I'm saying. But if he throws the 2 picks, I'll agree with you. That's an okay game. Not bad, but it's not good.
Okay, we'll take that. I'll take that. So, all right, playa. What? That was it for the week, man. And I mean, anybody who watches us get used to it. Like, once we get into sport, like we have multiple sports to talk about, we're usually 2 hours or more. We are not the hour podcast. Football season first half of the show, if you don't care about anything other than football, just tune in for the second half.
Yeah.
Like, you're good.
Solid. That's true. That's true. If you're out there and you're listening, during football season, we are going to do the first hour or so about everything else going on in the world of sports or the nonsense that we want to discuss or whatever it may be. And then that second half is going to be football, college, a little bit, and then NFL.
You know,
so,
whatever nonsense we want to talk about, like Pinky winning Super Bowl tickets, like whatever.
Talking Star Wars for most of it.
Bro,
you know,
I'm getting my minor added to my tattoo Monday.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's happening. It's happening.
Nice.
I think
Pinky,
I've decided.
I got a question for you, and I know the people that are telling me I don't know what I'm talking about and are arguing with me are not going to see this, but I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Do the Nuggets win the championship last year without Michael Porter Jr.? Did they win last year's championship in spite of MPJ?
Oh man, I think people are being very short-sighted last season in the playoffs if they don't recognize Porter for playing. He played more defense than he's ever played in the playoffs. He grabbed more rebounds than he's ever grabbed in the playoffs. And he scored closer to the basket than he's ever scored.
And he had some He had some key baskets, even though he wasn't shooting well.
So I'd be hard pressed to say they win without him. Now, again, is it possible? Because he didn't put up monster numbers. But who fills the void if he wasn't there?
Exactly. Who's grabbing those rebounds? Who's getting some of those blocked shots that he got? Who's hitting some of those killer threes while even though his shooting percentage was bad, they were timely?
I mean, wasn't he in on the LeBron block at the end of the Lakers game for Game 4? Wasn't he part of that? Yeah, I is anything possible if he wasn't there? Sure. But, man, it would have been a lot tougher if he wasn't out there.
This goes back to the Booth comments, and I basically said exactly what I said. I said Booth should be on notice more so than MPJ, and I've got fans coming at me telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, which always makes me chuckle a little bit because you know how I feel about being able to discuss some basketball and dissect it. So, yeah, I just thought I'd ask. Curious how you saw that. Greg would probably say differently. So bring him on next week because that'll be a rousing good time.
No, I think Greg would agree with our take that like Michael Porter.
Oh, I don't mean that. I mean just Greg overall thinking my basketball knowledge is below him being able to take the time to give credence to.
I mean, I don't think he goes that far, but you know. I'll see what he says. I'll see if I can get him on next week. We'll see.
It would be fun since we're gonna do the whole NBA season preview, so that'd be cool. Final thoughts, my guy?
Fuck, man. Going to the Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah.
Going to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna have to take some videos. I've had a couple people like that I've talked to, be like, "Are you gonna meet Gronk?" And I'm like, I asked the ladies that told me I won. Like, hey, do I get to meet Gronk? And they were like, we don't know yet. And I was like, he's a USAA spokesman. I feel like he's got to be there. So, like I'm going to bring my Gronkosaurus jersey with me. I love Gronk. Like, I hate the Patriots. I love Gronk.
You should have a Bucks jersey, Bucks jersey.
I do.
I know you do. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, you should have that you bring with you, not a Patriots Gronk jersey. So it doesn't matter. You're fine.
Yeah, I don't have that one. I've got for going to all 32 stadiums, I'm debating Brady, Patriots jersey, or John Hanna. And most Patriots fans, since Super Bowl Patriots fans have no idea who John Hanna is.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad
thing. Do you know who John Hanna is?
Yeah. Dude, come on now.
Who is John Hanna?
The lineman? Yeah. John Hannah, the lineman from the Patriots.
He's arguably one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time.
Yeah, I know. He's look. You could talk about him as the same vein as a Joe Thomas or a Anthony Munoz, or you know what I mean, like great linemen that just didn't get to play with really good talent. So I get it. That would not be a bad pick. My final thought is Pinky's going to the Super Bowl. We're gonna ride that wave because that's awesome. I'm so happy for my guy.
I'm just sad it's like 4 years, 4 months away.
Yeah, well, that'll be fine. You'll get a build up to it. We'll get the season and everything else that goes with it. So it'll be cool. On that note, everybody, you know what? We do this because we love it. And even if nobody watched, Pinky and I would probably still find a way to do this for some reason, unbeknownst to anybody. But that does not take away with how much we appreciate any type of support you show us. Likes, follows, shares, retweets, reacts, whatever they're called.
Biggie, Bawana Beast, Cody, our man Clayton who jumps in when he can. Like anybody that's in our stream that wants to ask questions, have some fun. We love it. We're here for you. Thanks for being part of the family. Just a good time, man.
Thank you all. And on that note, you get those quality times, you get those special moments, that inner circle, those loved ones, families, friends. Don't take them for granted. Cherish them. Always say yes to those opportunities. Pinky, you're my dude. Until next week, we're out.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.